Well, you know what's interesting about the hobbits? They always thought like one of the stories was that no, it was the dwarfs. Remember that they were always surprised. They were like, oh, because the dwarf women look like the male dwarfs, they're hard to tell the difference. So they're kind of androgynous, I guess, if the right word is. Like they're just one. So don't you remember he talks about that with the dwarfs?
No.
Because they always ask about like dwarf women, and they're like, oh, they just kind of look like all the rest of us.
Dude, you're sounding like a metaverse nerd, like analyzing the sex of Lord of the Rings characters.
Dude, I read all the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit books. So I loved them. I mean, I also read all the Dune books. And, dude, I love the Dune books.
Well, what is your avatar going to be like in the...
I would totally be a Fremen.
I don't know what that is.
Well, the problem now is that they came out with the new Dune movie, which is excellent.
I fell asleep.
But if you read the books and you got into that whole thing, I mean, Power Athlete's basically built on the law of the Fremen.
The spice?
Yeah. I mean, God created Arrakis to train the faithful. I mean, it's like there's so many metaphors for religion. I'm just making jokes on it.
South Park did a take on Dune.
But there is like the original Dune books are like, I read them all. They were fucking, and then they got to the point where I don't even know what I was reading anymore. They were so confusing. But it's a cool piece. But I've always tried to balance reading fiction with nonfiction. So if I read one nonfiction, I try to read a fiction book, and I try to like at least balance some stuff out. Unfortunately, I think I've found as the older I get is that the nonfiction is actually more fantastic than the fiction. So they say that, reality is a lot more interesting than making it up. I mean, the shit you read where you're like, I would have never have written that.
So, I mean, that's where a lot of inspiration for fiction comes from. A lot of accomplished fiction writers, they read primarily nonfiction to find material for characters and settings and plots, and that of course helps with verisimilitude. It helps with making it feel real, because George R.R. Martin, I think his inspiration for Game of Thrones, for example, was the War of the Roses. He's very into history, and he took a lot of what was going on into his own universe, and according to his own ideas.
So
I read a bit more autistically than you. So I read on a genre. I have a rotation. I have two different genre rotations. One are work-related books, and then that's one list. And the other list is just personal stuff that I like to read. And so I flip-flop between those, and I read one or two books in one genre related to work, one or two books in one genre related to something more personal. And then so one of the buckets is fiction / literature, which is just for me, like read something that's a classic, read the Iliad or something, or poetry. And so I don't read much fiction, but it's in my, I'm only getting through a couple fiction books a year because I don't prioritize it. But I find that serves, I guess, my interests more, because I have obviously a lot of my time and a lot of my focus is on work. So that's 50% of my reading, and then more personal for fun stuff. I'll enjoy fiction, but it has to be really good. If it's not really good, I would rather read nonfiction.